Hey guys, so today we're going to go over the Merkava Mk.3 and whether you should or should not get it. Now I'm going to recommend here at the very start that you base your decision off of what I say at the very end. Don't, you know, go off of what I say at the very beginning. Please watch to the end and let me explain things at the very end. So, when I got this tank, it was on the marketplace for over $200. Now, I don't recommend obviously anybody paying that, but somebody paid a fucking $1,000 for this thing a few days after the event started. So, whoever you are, I'm glad you have that kind of money to throw around. Now, I don't judge. If you got it, you got it. Flex. But let's go over some stuff about it really quick. Now, the main thing about this tank is that it has an extremely good 120 millimeter gun. Now, you don't get to experience that phenomenal pin until you make it to your tier 3 upgrades. And it is a pain in the ass until then because the round that you have to use is a 480 pin heat fence stabilized. Now, what do all tanks pretty much have at top tier? Composite armor that is designed specifically to defeat rounds like this one. Now, when you do get to your M322 round, you have an insane amount of penetration over pretty much any distance. At over 2,000 at 30 degrees, you have 485, and at 60, 332. That is extremely good. And if you're hitting side on or something flat, it goes all the way up to 575 at 2000. Like, you're not losing a whole lot of penetration when you get to that amount of distance compared to, point blank, obviously. And that is a very similar round to, let me go to it and show you, if it's not the exact same as the Ariete, that it has the CLL 3143 is actually the same, I think. Pretty sure that is the same kind of round. Anyways, we'll get back to the Merkava. Now, I want to go over something else really quick. It is pretty survivable. It is mostly like the other two Merkavas in that, you know, term. But this one right here has a little bit of composite armor on the front and more on the sides that'll stop a lot of heat rounds from the side of the tank. You're not really going to be stopping a whole lot with the sides, but it can eat it. We'll do a little bit of testing right here since we're sitting in it, and we'll test the heat round on it. So if you're getting shot in the front of the turret with a very similar round, it can pin occasionally too far up or down. It won't. Over here is if they hit like right here, it can. But getting hit by heat rounds is not something you need to be worrying about with, um, unless somebody at top tier is stock. Which if you're playing this and it's your first time, you're going to be stock and you're going to be dealing with the same stuff. So you win some, you lose some. Now if you're getting shot up here, most of the time heat rounds are going to end up getting eaten by the engine. If you go over here, you're gonna end up bouncing in some places, like right there. Now, if you go to like down here, though, you're going to end up, yeah, your driver's gonna end up dying. This tank can eat heat rounds in the front for the most part. Now, let's go up to a round like this one. Now, this is kind of worst case scenario. You're getting shot by an Ariete or something like that, like 500 yards or 500 meters. Now, Russian tanks are going to have couple hundred millimeters less pin, but same, you need to be worrying about this because there is a chance, worst case scenario, you get shot right here. It's going to go straight through the engine. However, it's not going to kill the tank immediately. This tank is very good at being a very survivable vehicle, depending on where you get shot up here. One thing is that when you're getting shot, we're going to go back really quick to the x-ray. Your turret does not have ammo in it. It is down here in a fireproof container, meaning that if you light on fire and a fuel tank or something ends up catching on fire, you're not going to have to worry about your ammo cooking off. the fuel tanks are on the exterior and has armor protecting them from heat rounds, but it's not going to stop and stabilize APF SDS rounds. But your crew is also fairly protected from fires as well because of the plates being spaced armor around the tanks, and from the front, from an engine shot or something like that, the gas tank up here in the front is blocked off from the transmission and engine, and your driver is blocked off from the engine and transmission and fuel tank. So like I was saying, if you get hit by a heat round, sometimes depending on what the round is, it can actually be eaten up by this, and your driver will be fine. But you got to knock out transmission and engine. But if you get shot in the front of the turret, it'll eat rounds. So keep that in mind. Anyways, I want to go over one very last thing. Your high explosive round has a timed fuse on it, meaning that after you have the upgrade for the laser warning system, laser rangefinder, which means that if you're getting locked onto by a helicopter, it'll tell you. You'll have a little warning sign come up telling you that you're being aimed at, do something. And the laser rangefinder is also in the same upgrade, um, making it to get ranges very quickly. And if you have the HE round loaded, it'll set a fuse on it, and once it gets to that distance, it'll detonate. Meaning that if you're shooting at a helicopter that's sitting still, you can kill him with it. And if a tank is sitting behind something and you can shoot over it, just lays the rock, shoot up, and if you're close enough, you can actually get the kill. Most MBTs, the top of the tank itself is going to be very lightly armored, and this round has enough pin to get through those. I did some testing with it, and I was able to penetrate the top of a T-62's turret by shooting over top of it. Now, that's just a T-62, but you get the point. Now, we'll go into the games, and then I'll wrap it up at the very end, so I will see you guys there. Alright, so here is the first game that I'm going to show you. Both of these games aren't super long, and this one is it's alright. I get a couple kills out of a pretty sneaky little spot that these guys didn't even check. And the only reason why I knew they were there is because you're going to see here in a second where they got there faster than I did. This tank isn't super quick. There are, many other tanks that can get to position faster than this tank can. And what I talked about in the turret, the guys being kind of roomy and stuff, you actually see what I mean here in a second because I'm getting ready to get shot. I'm going to go up around this corner and somebody's going to pop me in the turret. And thankfully, since everybody minus the commander and gunner, see, I got hit and it didn't kill everybody and only got the gunner and wounded the commander, but thankfully it did not kill both of them. So gunner's back in action, and I see them over on the other hillside over there. They got there much quicker than I did, and I did not anticipate for them to be sitting right there. But since this tank's turret is at the more rear of the hull, I can back up into this little corner right here and use it that way. Because if I get shot, I mean, they're not going to get my driver or my engine, and I can pull right back in front of the rock. So there's two guys there. I was hoping that I was actually going to be able to hit both of them, but I didn't, and I got the T-80B. And after a reload, I come back. They're still not looking over here, and the other guy is sitting right about there. Go ahead and hit him in the turret and take out his gun breach. Here comes another guy who was flying up across there. Get him, and there goes the T-80U. Now, this tank, like I said before, is more used for a long distance or a more defensive spot, because you don't want to be the one who's drawing fire. And since this tank is more survivable than possibly other vehicles, you might not necessarily get one shot. However, the chance is still there. And second, most of the time when you get shot in the front end, that means that you're going to be immobilized, making the next shot that's going to hit you probably going to be the one that kills you. So I'm going to sit here, repair whatever it was that was broken, and then I go over to the cap. And I end up capping that. So this game, I figured that they were going to push A a lot more than they did. However, they didn't, and I mean, I'm not going to complain, but this thing having 600 millimeters of pin at closer ranges and over 5 at long distances is insane. So having a super powerful gun is kind of the trade-off for having a lot more armor. So after we capped, I noticed that, the spot on this map where everybody will end up going to shoot guys that are in our spawn, I going to drive in behind him. Nobody shot me going across that middle of that opening, which I don't know why they didn't. There were 2 tanks sitting there, but they managed to knock one out, and the other guy is sitting right up there behind the rock. I'm getting ready to pull up on him and shoot him, and then save our team from getting spawn killed even more. So he knocked out that T-80B. And I really do like this vehicle. It's just sometimes this thing irritates the hell out of me, mostly because, well, it's new and some people are going to single it out. And another thing that irritates me is, since this is a high tier allied vehicle and some people don't want to unlock it, or didn't want to unlock it, they're just going to pay for it when the price goes low. You end up in matches where people have never played high tier before. They just bought this vehicle to have a top tier vehicle. They don't know how to use it, and that is their only vehicle at that tier. So once they die, they're out of the game. And that winds up having allied teams being like consisting of a lot of Merkavas and a few other people who actually have other vehicles. Like I have the M1A2, M1A1. I have other vehicles that I can use. Also, this guy comes up. It was a T64, but I just like I creamed his corn when he came around the corner with this gun. And pretty much this game does nothing much really happens because these guys get pushed all the way back in their spawn. But back to what I was saying. I don't really like when people do that. Now I understand if you're invested into this game and this was something that you really, really wanted, but at least learn how to use the vehicle. And if you do end up buying this thing because you want a top tier vehicle and because this tank appeals to you, just at least learn how to play it. Or if you don't have any other vehicles that are at the same tier as this because you haven't made it that far yet, play defensively. Try not to die. Be more of a support role, because I would rather have a Merkava who is hanging back and not being up front taking hits like an M1 or a Challenger or whatever, than drive up there, get shot, and we lose a guy. And we're losing a very, very powerful gun on our team. There is not a Russian gun, like there is no Russian gun that can compete with this. No round that the Russians have can compete with this amount of penetration. The Ariete has that amount of penetration, yes, but the main thing you're going to end up fighting is Russians and a few Italians here and there, but most of the teams are going to consist of Russia. And on the ally side, you're going to end up having America, Britain, Japan at high tier. But I'd rather have a Merkava alive instead of a full team of people who have never played top tier before get shot one time and they're done. So this guy right here, T72B3, I have done this before. I could have easily shot through that guy's upper plate at that range, but I aimed a little bit lower. I didn't see him at first, honestly, because he got one shot into my turret, and like I said before, this thing being as roomy as it is and nothing super major being in the turret other than the gun itself and the crew members, he only took out the loader, and that was it. And well, my track, but the first shot only took out the guy, or actually took out the guy. Second shot took out the track. Didn't die. So thankfully I'm still kicking. And another thing that I want to bring up with this vehicle is that I don't I'm still getting used to playing this vehicle, because trust me, when I first got it, I died a handful of times before I got the whole gist of how I needed to play this at the tier that it's at. But when you are the FC T80B right through the upper plate at that range. So you have a very powerful gun, so I would stay alive to use said powerful gun. The stock grind for this vehicle is so fucking annoying because you have heat fin stabilized at a tier that everyone has armor to specifically defeat chemical rounds. Also, T72B3 creamed his corn as well. He's dead. Um, so if if you do, you know, decide to get this vehicle, since it is an event vehicle, it's not a premium, obviously, since it's a 10.3. Hope to God there's no 10.3 premium vehicles that come out, which I know I said too much already, and they're going to end up coming now. And there's a T80U right through the driver's port, and he's dead. So the best thing you can do with the heat fin stabilized when you're going through that stock grind, be a support. Let your guys get into the fight. Let them use this armor. You take guys out from the side or hit gun barrels and breaches to help your team, get the assist, cap bases, do what you can without trying to get up there and get into the fight. Yeah, I know that sounds kind of annoying, but also I try to hit this guy. I wish that the thing where you could range find and your gun automatically automatically sets that distance. I wish that was a thing in realistic, but I've been told it's only a thing in simulator, and I don't know if it's still there or not. But I tried the fuse shell. I missed, obviously. But there is a few Russian tanks up here at A. The Leclerc right there is getting ready to get shot in the side. He's looking at some Russian tank, and over there a guy blew smoke between those buildings over there. And he, well, I was going to shoot him through the bushes right there, but I completely fucking missed. So I can see this guy right here. He's having a hard time with the Leclerc, it seems, but the Leclerc is getting ready to die. And that T72B3 is now dead. And here comes the Russian guy sitting between the two buildings. His gun is taken out. I don't know that yet, but I'm getting ready to back up around the corner, and I'm going to die here very quickly. Right about... I get shot in the gun first, and then that guy, T64. So, should you get the Merkava Mark III? So I think that if you already have high tier America, I feel like you should, if you're comfortable with how you play high tier already, or you have the coupon and you intend on grinding out the top American tanks, because since the Abrams now, their armor works better than it used to, and you're not getting pinned through the front of the turret every single time you fight somebody, I feel like having the lineup similar to the one I have down there gives America a pretty strong lineup at top tier. But if you have no intentions of going up in the American deck tree and you have this vehicle and it is the only thing you're rolling out in top tier and then you immediately die, I would not recommend it, but I can't stop you. But I would not buy it off the marketplace at the price that it's currently at unless you have that just sitting around and you're itching to fill in a spot in your hangar for a tank. This tank has good things about it and it has bad things about it. It is a unique tank that takes time to learn how to excel in. Now, it can come out on top of games because of the gun and because of how survivable this tank is from getting hit, not necessarily bouncing shots, but eating them. You can do extremely well in it. But you need to take into account that you're falling into the glass cannon category when it comes to how the tank performs armor wise. So keep that in mind, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me whether you got the vehicle or not, or whether you decide on getting the vehicle or not. I'd like to know, and tell me what vehicle you would like to see next. Obviously, I don't have the BI. Still waiting on the next part where I can get the half track or the ship. So let me know what you want to see, and I will do my best to do it. So anyways, guys, I will see y'all later.